From MZ Studios in Dallas, Texas, you're listening to the Tennis Revolution podcast.
Woo, we are back. Should I give away the industry secrets? Behind the curtain, behind the scenes?
You might as well, because we'll do it accidentally anyway.
So thank you for everybody that downloaded last week and tuned in. That was pre-recorded.
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
Because Corey had way better things to do last week and couldn't bother to come in. So
watching that Super Bowl was more thrilling than recording this podcast. It was just such a wonderful game.
Now, when that thing was over, did you regret not coming to record live?
The best meme I saw from that was, when this game ends, we all win. And that's how I felt about that.
Yeah.
I would have rather been doing anything but that.
That was, except for people from, the Boston area.
I don't even think for them. Until the end, obviously, it was that satisfying.
The only thing I can hope is that Tom Brady will just retire. Please just be done, would you?
That did kind of remind you of that Manning's performance in his last Super Bowl, where they won, but it was like he didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
So kind of maybe that'll be a sign.
Oh, boy. Super Bowl Sunday in the books, and now we're back where we should be, talking about a real sport. Golf. No, wait.
That's right.
Tennis.
Yeah, this was actually a packed week of tennis.
This was a hectic day. Sunday was busy.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. Not the least of which was you scurrying over to the studio really late because you decided you wanted to watch a 125. Is that what it is? A 125?
125, yeah, I think.
Men's challenger here in Dallas. Apparently the only professional tennis at all in Dallas, right?
Yeah, I think in all of DFW now.
All of DFW. Yikes.
Just pretty crazy. And
that's pitiful.
Yeah, and there's been other ones over the course of the last few years, but this is the only one going currently.
And it's been going for a while.
Yeah, this is 21st year, and they had,
wow.
And
it hasn't gotten any better.
They get some pretty, they at least, unlike most challenges, I feel like they do make an effort to get bigger names to come. Well, it just doesn't always work out.
They had Nishikori last year, which I don't know if that's the tournament or just the Nishikori camp saying, hey.
Yeah, because he also played, I think, in like Cleveland or Cincinnati or something. And then, this year they had Isner and Kyrgios, but they both played doubles because they're ranked too high to be allowed to play singles.
Right.
And so that was kind of a letdown because everybody that went that's not that knowledgeable about tennis, which is most fans of any sporting events, meaning of all the rule nuances, they were going thinking those guys are playing singles. Oh, John Isner's playing. And they show up and, it's double. Oh, they're playing doubles together. No, they're playing on totally separate days and courts. And so I think that was a letdown for a lot of people expecting to see those guys play singles.
Yeah.
And then they only got to see them play one match each. So that was...
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
That's a little long. I think that's a little long.
Just like the match today.
Yes.
It was very long.
Yes. Now, a match that also went long was a Fed Cup. Have you heard of that? Have you ever heard of Fed Cup?
I have. It's my favorite tennis event.
There we go. We had some Fed Cup, some USA action today because apparently the men decided to leave the women behind and let them just do their silly Fed Cup all throughout the year while they get to have a fancy, one venue, 10-day event. So the USA, first round, played Australia. And, of course, come on, we can't possibly lose that.
Well, and we learned one of these podcasts that USA's won more Fed Cups than any other country, right, by like a pretty wide margin, I think.
Not today. Not today.
Well, Australia has a lot of strong, highly ranked players, right?
I'm not sure. One.
Yeah, one that is all they needed for this.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So Ash Barty is their, superstar.
Right.
And rightfully so. She's, top 15 right now. I don't know exactly where she's at. She's also a top 10 doubles player.
And they didn't even use her in doubles, did they?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she did play the final doubles?
Yep.
So she got 3 wins for the team.
Yep. Stop throwing me off. Yeah, she's the Yeah, she's the Coco Vandeweghe of 2019.
Yeah.
Except that this was first round. That wasn't a final, baby. So as you might imagine, the first match, or Rabah, Sophia Kenin, who exactly, lost to Ash Barty. So where do you think Sophia Kenin's ranked right now?
Oh, probably 67.
Well, no, not close. 37, which
really?
I was surprised that she was that high.
I am too.
But she just had one good run, and I guess whatever.
Well, I was surprised. I was surprised about many things, but one, that she was playing, but number two, that she was playing, and then I saw that Danielle Collins was on the roster. I was a little surprised they had her playing after her run in Australia.
I guess somebody thought, hey, that's a better matchup.
Right.
I don't know.
Or maybe they already planned that before Australia. Who knows?
So the first round was the first Rabah was Ash Barty beating Kenin 1-6. So not, she had a good second set, but whatever.
Right.
Now it starts to make a little more sense here. The second rubber was Madison Keys, and who did she play? Kimberly Burrell, ranked.
I was going to say Jarrell because I already forgotten.
Ranked. What do you think?
I've never heard of her, so I'm going to say 124.
Ooh, close. You were closer with your original one.
I was going to go 170 something.
Oh, 157.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say 172.
And bringing up the rear in doubles at 501.
Where's Sam Stosur?
I don't know.
And she surely ranked higher than that.
Who knows? So that was the second. So Keys took care of her pretty easily, 2-2. So then Keys plays Barty in the third. Rabah lost 4-1. And so now, of course, they're going to put Sophia Kenin. Oh, no, wait. They realized their initial mistake. And they put in Danielle Collins in the fourth rubber. And, of course, as we know, Danielle Collins is almost top 20. And they decided, I guess, for some reason, Gavrilova not playing in the first singles group, that, we'll play her. So we had two players that didn't play first.
That's kind of unusual.
Ridiculous. And Gavrilova's 47 right now, give or take. And it looked real good at the front end, because we're fighting to stay in it. And so
right.
Collins is playing singles against Gavrilova, wins the first set easily. I mean, she had 1,000 winners and about 900. No, her unforced weren't bad. She didn't have that many winners, obviously, but she just was cranking winners on both sides. And then I don't think nerves got her, to be honest with you. I really don't. I think Gavrilova got rid of her nerves and started making more balls, and more balls not in the middle of the court. And Danielle Collins started missing more unforced errors and less winners. And Gavrilova wins the second set 6-3, and then Collins gets her life together and finishes it out 6-2. And you think, wow, man, I can't wait till tomorrow for doubles. Wait a minute. Just wait a minute.
Doubles that we've said is never important any time of the year.
Now
ever.
listen, the men go singles on day 1 and 2, doubles in the middle only.
Right. But not anymore.
And then, but I'm saying the team. And then reverse singles on day 3. I mean, listen.
I'm a reasonable guy, but I've just experienced some very unreasonable things.
So that was pretty good, wasn't it? That was spot on. By the way, can you name that tune?
I can't, actually.
Well, I don't think you've seen it. Kurt Russell.
Okay. We talked about Kurt Russell movies last.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie.
I got an email, a tweet, a DM, a smoke signal, a telephone
we didn't
call
give credit to that movie
from somebody saying, calling that an underrated movie. Listen, it's not. It's terrible. It's cheesy and whatever, but it's fantastic. But anyway, so there's a couple.
Have you paid your dues, Jack? Yes, sir. The check is in the mail.
That's just Kurt being Kurt. So anyway, what was I talking about? Who cares? Oh, this nonsense. So Collins gets off the court after a 3-setter and now goes into doubles.
Right.
Now, listen, they don't play 3 out of 5. I get it. Maybe, I don't know, but what a dumb idea. And I don't know that she looked tired or anything, but who knows? You play a 3-setter under that kind of pressure, and you have to turn right back around and then play singles It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and why
doubles,
why is Gavrilova on the bench day one for a 157 player?
I think we must have made a deal. Hey, let's put our third or fourth ranked players in. Okay, cool. Cheers.
Or she was finishing up some other tournament maybe and couldn't get there in time.
I don't have any.
But yeah, that's typical of tennis. We, like I said, we don't value doubles ever anytime in the year, and then you're going to save it for the most important match in Fed Cup.
Right.
I mean, the good thing about them being the same day is it does reward a little more depth on your team. But that's really about the only reason.
Except for it didn't, because Collins played back to back, and so did Barty didn't play back to back because she didn't play that singles match. But
yeah,
and it
didn't because Barty won all three, so they only needed one player to beat us.
Right. Well, they needed another one for doubles, and they a youngster named Priscilla Hahn.
Wow.
Who
was Collins' partner?
Well, let me finish telling you about Priscilla Hahn. She's 143 in singles, 125 in doubles.
Okay.
But pretty much, Gavrilova was 112 in doubles. So,
yeah.
But I'm always of the mind if you have a situation like Davis Cup or Fed Cup and you don't have double specialists, then put your best player in.
Right.
Now, best, singles player. Now they may not have the net skills, but guess what? They serve a fourth of the games, and they return half of a fourth of the games.
Right.
And then, you can play two back on returns if you want. And if they're that much better, then it's not going to hurt you or may not hurt you.
Right.
We just didn't look great. We didn't look great at the net. We had a what did you ask? Oh, you asked who Danielle played. Yeah, so Collins, who obviously played doubles in college and had a stellar college career, but she played with Nicole Melikar.
No, I'd never heard of her.
Exactly. But she's ranked 13 in doubles.
Really?
688 in singles.
She's 13 in the world in doubles. We've never heard of her?
Yes, that's
crazy.
Correct. Now, with that being said, she can volley, but can she handle, playing a top singles player also? Because it's not like you just stand in front of each other and volley to each other. You're returning serves, you're hitting serves. There's a lot of one-up, one-back, so you're hitting a lot of ground strokes.
Well, I can't imagine the Melikar Collins were hitting the practice court together that often.
Well, that too. Yeah, that too. So, it wasn't a blowout. It was 6-4, 7-5, but we just didn't quite have it. It was too bad. What a bummer.
And so that was the Fed Cup and Davis Cup, the old Davis Cup, they were always single elimination, right? So that's it for them.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Good night. Now, and that was the first round.
Right.
So we have to play a world group team now. I hope we lose. No, I don't. Go America, but still. Now, one example, what I was thinking about that I may have been proved wrong is Romania was playing the Czech Republic.
I saw the scores from that.
Yeah, so Pliskova won pretty easily for the Czech Republic in the first rubber. Halep won against Siniakova in the second rubber. And then Halep in three beat Pliskova 6-4, 7-5 or 6-4, 5-7, 6-4. And then Katerina Siniakova played Buzarnescu, and she beat her. So it's 2-2 going into the fifth rubber. And so now you have Katerina Siniakova and Barbara Krejcikova.
Yeah, apparently that's the number one doubles team in the world.
Yeah, so they're coming in as a doubles team.
Right.
Highly ranked doubles. And so now you have Monica Niculescu, who, she's not, nothing. She's played in the U.S. Open, and she played, she's ranked 51 in doubles.
Got the slice forehand.
Yeah, and she played with Irina Camelia Begu.
Always reminds me of spaghetti sauce.
Exactly. And she's 35 in doubles. And we also had Buzarnescu or whatever her name is, 27. So I don't know. You have three doubles players that are inside the top, 50, give or take. But then you have Simona Halep.
Right.
And, if you're pretty much... but, it was a close match. It was 7-6. Czech Republic won the first set in a breaker. And then Romania won 4-4.
Wow.
So my thought when that
So
first
Romania won the match.
they did. So
Jeez.
my thought was when the Czech Republic won that first set, I was like, man, they should have just put. You should have put one of the best tennis players in the world,
Right.
on the court, because you might not be playing doubles, but at least you're playing better tennis. You're hitting big returns where you want, lobs, whatever.
They may play baseline the majority of the time in ladies doubles.
Well,
anyway.
at least one up, one back.
Right.
So, but hey, what are you going to do? Romania ended up coming back, and winning it. So, yippee.
Well, that's got to be frustrating when you have the number one ranked team in the world and it comes down to them and you lose.
Yeah, but, listen, it's doubles. We know how that goes.
Yeah, and they don't have, when you don't have two dominant singles players, you have to know every match you're going in, with a coin flip for the most part.
Yeah, so Czech Republic goes down to Romania.
Yeah, so they'll be doing the World Group qualifying too.
Yep, so Romania will face France, who destroyed Belgium 3-1. Belarus beat up on Germany, and they will play Australia, who beat us 3-2. What a bummer. Belarus.
I couldn't think of who they had besides Azarenka.
Well, oddly enough, Azarenka didn't play.
Huh.
So Sabalenka and Sasnovich.
I forgot Sabalenka.
Yeah,
was
Sabalenka's
from Belarus.
9 and Sasnovich is 33. I mean, Azarenka's 48.
Yeah.
So, really not a big deal.
And everybody thinks Sabalenka is like one of the next big things.
Yep. So she, what did she do? So she won. Sasnovich won 6-3 against Tatiana Maria. Again, they're playing Germany. Sabalenka beat Petkovic 2-1. I mean, that was just an ass whipping.
See, I would assume they would have Kyrgyz in there, but I guess not.
And then Sabalenka beat Laura Sigmund 1-1. So I mean, It was just, and they didn't play the fourth singles one, and they played doubles for some reason. And it was Azarenka did play. She played the dead rubber, the fifth, the doubles, and they won the first set 6-1. Azarenka and I don't even know who this is, Morozova, and they lost the second set 6-0, and then they played a third set breaker. They won 11-9. I'm assuming it's a third set breaker since it's a dead rubber.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy though, because I would assume. Well, I saw one of the scores was 4-0, and I'm like, how do you get a 4-0? Because you don't need to play the fourth if it's 3-0.
Right.
And why wouldn't you just play? Why would you play all five? If you're going to play one extra, why wouldn't you play both?
And you thought, wait a minute, they probably bailed on doubles because nobody cares.
Right.
I guess since the last day has 2 matches, they figure, well, we'll give the fans a match.
Yeah.
And that's it. What a dumb setup. Don't be mad at the Davis Cup for leaving y'all behind and doing their own thing when you do this dumb stuff.
Well, and that's kind of what we've talked about with Ryder Cup and Laver Cup is at least they've got it set up to where it comes down to the end no matter what.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Well, I just think from a fan perspective, you paid for the weekend. I mean, you're well, I guess no matter what, you have a match in the Fed Cup on the last day that means something.
Yeah.
At least one match.
I just don't like it coming down to a player who's playing back-to-back matches on the same day.
Right.
That's a bit much. Now, Collins did that all throughout her college career. She played doubles then singles, but
yeah,
I mean, they're playing.
And if both sides were doing it, that'd be one thing.
Well, yeah,
which they were, but one team had a longer break. Like if it was mandatory for all the players, then I could understand it more.
Right. So, anywho,
sounds like sour grapes, coach, that we lost.
I was fired up. I'm going to be honest with you. I was watching Collins play in her singles, and I was getting fired up. She was yelling at her opponent all up in her face and doing what she does.
Of course.
Which I don't care. And then
you're used to that with college tennis.
Well, it's kind of that style, that, whatever.
Right.
And, so then she won, and I was like, yeah, but great. Now she's got to play singles. What a disaster.
Or doubles, you mean?
I mean, doubles, yeah, what a disaster. So,
did Osaka play for Japan? That's what I'm trying to look up. Because they're not in the main group.
No.
I can't imagine she did.
I don't know.
No, it didn't look like she did.
So, again, here we are. It's, February, and now we just finished a somewhat exciting first round in some aspects, and now we wait. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's their whole reason the Davis Cup is changing. I mean, they did. Although what's funny is it changed, but yet they kind of are doing the same thing. They had their qualifying last week, and then they do the whole rest of it in one, same period. So that's one improvement. But it was kind of funny seeing the Davis Cup qualifying last time. Like, didn't they play in February before? Thought that was one of the things they were trying to change.
Right. So yes, no, Osaka did not play for Japan. Maybe she played for Haiti. I don't know.
They lost 3-2 without her.
Yes. Yeah, which just goes to show you what a bummer that could have turned around the other way. But anywho, so that's Fed Cup. I think we gave it a fair shake, fair amount of time, especially since you didn't watch any of it.
I did watch some of it.
You were busy watching.
I was watching live tennis.
Guys ranked in the 200s instead of watching women playing for their country.
Guys, I was having to Google constantly who their names were. It is. So let me ask you this.
Oh, please do.
Just from watching a challenger, because that's kind of what we're getting into here, which is what I got to watch all week. What are the immediate things you notice when you see those players? Like, why aren't they the next level? Because I feel like there's two that I see every year on the common denominators from all the players there as opposed to the ones on TV.
Well, the only bit I watched of this entire challenger that's in our backyard was a little bit of the warm-up. And do you want to tell them why I was watching?
Looking for me on TV.
I was looking for you on TV. I kept
like
texting
everybody
you,
was.
What are you doing? What are you wearing? Do you have a blue hat on? I'm not wearing a hat. Oh, you got a gray shirt on? Where you at? What row you at? Where you at? What side are you on?
Holding up the middle finger on TV.
I almost said, hey, can you just streak or something across the court?
That would have been more exciting than the tennis.
But typically, listen, I mean.
But you've seen all that caliber of player before.
Sure.
And you've been to that tournament before many times.
Not too much.
No,
not too much. I should go more, but what are you going to do? So what is the difference between that level and this level? And when I say this level, the ATP regular,
right?
That are qualifying or they're getting in directly,
top 50 basically
into the main draw. Yeah, not the top 2 or 3,
right?
Because nobody has anything in common with them.
Because we go every year and we see these guys and we get all excited and we Google them and we watch them for a couple weeks. Like, oh man, this guy's going to be really good, and they kind of just stay the same.
Well, it's funny.
They're there the next year.
Well, you had a guy who is at the tour level last year.
Right.
Playing against all these chumps. Well, he looked like crap.
He did.
But still won.
And still won. And so that kind of didn't make those guys look good, the rest of the guys.
Yeah. Well, listen, generally speaking, I don't want to talk about specifics because there are some players that we know their coaches and know their parents. I don't want to talk about it. But I honestly, so Mitchell spoiler alert, if you're taping the Dallas 125 Challenger.
They might show it on Tennis Channel at 2 a.m.
Hey, they were showing it.
They were. I was
throughout
impressed.
The week.
That was impressive.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a 125. So they've been doing that. But anywho, I've watched that level before for sure. So one thing I think is they're all inexperienced. They're all youthful,
right?
Because you do see some players coming back down through the other direction.
Yeah.
On their way out. But usually players don't want to do that as much.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's as many guys doing that. I remember when I first started going to that tournament, it was a lot of that. Like Reiner Schuttler and those was there one year, and James Blake was there, and Michael Russell. Now you don't get those guys, at least not for the last couple of years. I don't know why that is, but I don't see it as much.
Right.
It's all young guys or college guys.
Yeah, some college guys
thinking about it.
Yeah. So one thing certainly can be. From the physical side of things.
Yeah, that's the one I notice all the time.
I think if you look at guys that are in the top 100 that are going to get there, they look physically different than the guys that aren't there or that won't get there.
Right.
They might all be around 200 to 300 now, but you can watch, something that's coming out, somebody you think is going to break out of that pack and move on up. And physically, they just look quicker, faster, for longer. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because a lot of players can hit a huge, forehand or a huge backhand or a huge serve. But can you get to a ball over and over and over and over again? And if you can, that's fine. Can you get there where you're set up and you're balanced so you can actually hit the shot you want? And do that over and over and over and over again, as opposed to, them barely getting out to balls, but still wailing away at it, and some go in, some don't, and it looks fun when they go in, but it's not, consistent.
Well, yeah, and I'm looking at one of these guys that actually won the doubles, and he's, 230 in the world. That was his highest ever, and he's 5'11", and 5'11" sounds like an exaggeration, but there's a lot of those guys seem to be in the 5'10" to 6 foot range, and they're smaller, overall. So I see that immediately when I'm watching. And then the other thing is none of them crack, 120 on the serve pretty regularly. And like you said, all the guys in the top 20 can serve 120 pretty much at will. Even Nishikori can hit 125,
right,
at times.
By the way, I stand corrected. Here's a couple guys on their way down. Maybe. Dustin Brown.
Yeah, we did see him.
Did you see him play with the dreads and whatnot?
I wouldn't say he's on the way down because he never really... he is on the way down, but he never really got that far up.
He's gotten directly into Grand Slams.
Oh, definitely.
And he doesn't now.
No. Well, by the way, what's the stat on him?
I don't know.
The only active player to be undefeated against Nadal.
Oh, wow.
with more than one win. You can't be 1-0.
Right.
So he's 2-0 against Nadal, both on grass.
Nice.
So that was mentioned many times during the week.
Claim to fame.
But he that's true. He was one of the older guys that was kind of there, and I'm sure not too happy to be at that level, but still trying to make it.
Hey, the prize money is probably, the overall prize money is, 125, give or take, because I don't think it's an exact to the penny. So they're probably getting $7 to $10 grand, something like that.
Yeah,
for the champion.
Yeah, the champion actually gets 18 now.
Oh, wow.
For the singles, and I think second gets 10.
Wow, not bad.
And then I don't know what the doubles is. It's a lot smaller.
So, yeah, he might not be...
I think he made the quarters, so he probably got a couple $1,000s.
Yeah, paid for his trip.
Right.
Basically.
But, yeah, somebody like that is obviously just doing it for the points, just so he can get into the bigger tournaments or the slams or whatever.
Yeah.
But, it was a lot of college guys. I was surprised. It seems like more college players than ever, so I don't know if they've been inspired by some of these other guys like McDonald, who was there, who was the 1 seed. People are being more inspired by those college players that are making it on the tour. I guess Isner and Kevin Anderson and those guys.
Well, college players have always, tried to play these events.
Yeah,
and this one falls, within the season, so they can come down and their coach can pay for the qualifying. They can enter the qualifying as part of their season, or the wild card tournament, I should say, as part of their season. So what are your thoughts on the tournament? If it's the biggest and only now professional tennis event in DFW, which is Dallas is the 8th or something like that, largest city in the country, and then you add the metropolitan area, it's huge.
Right.
And we've got a 125.
Yeah, I think it's, it's great that we have it, but it's consistently disappointing just because it doesn't draw the attention, doesn't draw the names, doesn't draw the fans that other bigger events do. And it is frustrating to have a tournament in Cincinnati or Memphis or Atlanta. Those are all nicer, bigger tournaments. And we have this.
And we're way better cities is what you're saying?
Basically, yeah. Houston's got the clay court championship even. But it's just, it's grown, but it's grown kind of at a, stagnant pace, I would say.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. Stagnant means not grown at all. But I would say it hasn't, a very slow pace. It's just not, it hasn't changed much over the years. And I would say it's getting better every year, getting bigger names, but it's like this year it was kind of fluky with Isner and Kyrgios both played.
Yeah, that was a weird deal. They came in to play doubles.
Right.
Isner and Kyrgios played doubles, not with each other.
And then they both lost first round, and it's like, did they even want to win or did they even want to be there? And it was almost like just a gimmick of let's get these guys out in one night and draw them in for the name recognition. And then watching them play doubles is not even really watching them.
Right. Did you see them?
I got to see both. Yeah, I saw both in person, and they both were with drastically inferior partners, for one thing. So, that was a little bit hard to tell. Because in doubles, if your partner's weak, it doesn't really matter how good you are to some degree.
Sure.
But yeah, they both lost in third set tiebreak, I think. So it was
mysterious. Is that what you're saying?
Had they advanced, it would have been interesting what would have happened. I don't think they were planning to play the whole weekend.
I guess
because Isner's on his way to New York,
right? For
probably
the New York
yesterday
Open,
or today.
Sure. Yep.
And I would assume Kyrgios has got to be trying to play bigger events at some point.
Yeah, interesting. And I'll tell you, I mean, that's to me one of the biggest issues with how we are marketing our sport right now, on the men's side in particular, is just this false star power nonsense, which in the short term will bring in casual fans, but if you have a love of tennis, I say that, and I haven't been there, but I was watching Fed Cup, so to be honest, I let you handle one event, and I was on assignment for another event, so let's go with that.
I was taking copious notes during every match.
There we go. I don't know what copious means, but we push the stars, and then we don't develop that love for the game. Then what do we have when the stars retire? Nothing. That's what. Nothing.
Right, and I think that they're trying to sell the name. What they should be selling is these are the guys you're going to be seeing for the that's what I tell people about it. I'm like, these are guys you're going to see on TV for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and
they're trying to pull in people that are already famous. Which, I mean, I get they got to do whatever they can to get people to come. But like you said, that shouldn't be the point of the tour. In fact, that's the exact opposite of what the Challenger Tour is.
Well, we ran this level or close to this level, before I have. And, yeah, the sales pitch is, you're going to see these players playing at Wimbledon, at the U.S. Open, within 4 or 5 years at most.
Right.
And probably less if they make it.
Yeah. And what year was that again?
2001. Yeah.
So what if they had called you and said, hey, we're going to give Leighton Hewitt an exemption to come play your tournament, and he just comes and destroys everybody, and you get a sellout crowd every night. Yeah, that's great, but that defeats the purpose of having that tour.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to sell and develop the event for what it is. And it's like I always describe it like, seeing Pearl Jam in 1987 at some bar in Seattle.
Right.
Or not even Seattle, in Tacoma, because they couldn't get any,
right.
that kind of thing, where you see Pearl Jam, 5 years before they are, the biggest band in the world. And you're like, cool. I could, they were a little rough around the edges, but you could really see. And so, it's fun to start watching these players and see who's going to make it. And then you really have some investment in those players. And they're not even superstars. But
right.
you have fans have an attachment to these players because they saw them before they were somebody.
Yeah.
And almost like developing a relationship with them as far as like fandom goes.
Well, and that's funny. That's the way they used to promote that tournament, because they used to have all these flyers that would say, the Bryan brothers have been here, Blake's been here, now Bandian's been here.
Right.
So it would show you all the guys that had been there, and now they're like famous. I mean, oh man, so we're going to see people that are going to be famous. But now it's all.
I don't want to see Kyrgios and Isner come down and lose in the first round. I don't want that. Well,
yeah, and had they made the finals of doubles, that's great. They just knocked out all these other guys that really needed the money and the ranking, and they won, $5,000 each and just destroyed everybody. So, I mean, that's the good thing about them losing. They didn't take opportunity away from anybody else. Well, they still did by being in the draw, but
right.
But yeah, I know what you're saying. Like even having Nishikori last year win that tournament, it was like he beat 5 guys that really needed the ranking points and needed to win.
Well, and listen, he was trying to earn his way back. So to be honest with you, he was in the space where he had to play that.
Right.
I mean, technically.
Yeah.
Now, he could have gotten wild cards, but good for him, and I don't blame him for doing what he did. But, yeah, I hear what you're saying. So if next year, now they had all this hoopla for these players, and now next year they don't have them, now the tournament is less. So what are they going to do? Have an arms race with themselves now every year?
Well, that's kind of what happened from Nishikori last year to now this. They've kind of locked themselves in every year to having to promote some name player to come. I mean, I just never thought I would see sandbagging at the pro level. Just kidding. No.
So you watched the men's final. Well, I mean, it's a men's tournament. So you watched the final.
Doubles and singles.
So all the same ticket, basically, right? And you watched, what else did you see?
Well, I was there Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday, and then
Don't you have a life? What are you doing?
Well, it's been pouring rain here. So I was there for the major quarterfinal, the semifinal, and the final, and then I was there for the Kyrgios first round and Isner first round.
And to clarify, it's an indoor tournament, so it was pouring down raining, but we were okay.
So I went every day except for the first 2 days.
Gotcha.
And saw a bunch.
Right. And do you feel more excited about the matches that were between players you've never heard of? Or did you get all goofy about seeing some famous player that shouldn't really be there?
Well, I think that's the problem with us only having one tournament is that's the only time I've ever seen those two guys.
So you're part of the problem. You are part.
So I don't travel to go see those guys.
Right.
But like to me, someone who's been to the U.S. Open, which a lot of people have that watch pro tennis, even in Dallas, they're not going to go to Challenger to see Isner and Kyrgios. They've already seen those guys and better guys. So they're going for...
And they've seen something else in relation to those guys playing. A match that they cared about.
Right. So that, not
even close. Like
right.
Literally not even close. There's no chance that they put any effort into those matches.
Right.
Did you watch them play doubles?
I did, yeah. No, it was... Well, Isner was playing with a friend of his, so I think that was just kind of like basically if you and me go out and play doubles, that's kind of the same attitude he's going to have. We're just playing for fun. And
we're not friends.
And then Kyrgios played with Kruger, who ended up winning the tournament, but that was I don't even know if they knew each other before this week.
Right.
So I can't imagine he had much investment. Well, the reason we know they don't care is because what do they get out of winning? Nothing. For their standards.
Sure. Yeah.
But no, truthfully, the reason I go, the main reason is I'm hoping I'm going to see somebody that I just see them right away and I'm like, man, this guy's really good. He's going to be...
Isn't that the fun part?
Absolutely.
Isn't that the fun part right there?
And they haven't had a guy that's been huge, at least that I've seen. Kyle Edmund was probably the closest.
Right.
He won one year, and now he's top 20.
And you follow that guy now for no particular reason other than stalking purposes, but that's because you saw him.
Right, and because they've got the same complexion. But yeah, no, I saw him when he was 80, 90, 100 in the world, and he won that tournament. So it's like, it's kind of cool to see those guys progress. And then if he ever wins a slam or gets five, I can say, man, I saw that guy, he was 18 or 19.
So in some small way, you can take credit for for his career. I like it.
But yeah, no, I loved it when James Blake was there a few years ago and he was like on the way out. And again, I'd never seen him in person, so he came back. But again, his ranking was within the range.
Right. It wasn't a gimmick. He was still trying to hang on. Because again, I think we've talked about that theme, is all I care about is that the two people on the court that are competing against each other care about the match, put their maximum effort in, and ideally play to their best potential at the same time. And then we're in business.
Right. But what they could have done, too, would have been so much better. They could have said Isner and his buddy Kuznetsov, who's a former pro and top 200, he could have played Kyrgios and Kruger. That's it, one night, and that's fine. Have the singles match in the actual tournament and then exhibition match after that. I would have had no problem with that.
Right.
And then we would have known what it was instead of making it part of the draw.
Well,
you like an exhibition.
You knew what it was, but lesser tennis fans don't.
Oh, everybody was. I can't believe Isner lost. I'm like, he wasn't playing the rest of the tournament anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he was there for one match, maybe two, and he was going to be out.
Yeah. When does New York start?
It starts tomorrow.
There's
Monday
no
for
chance he's flying in.
No.
Yeah.
He's not staying in Dallas for a Challenger doubles final that would have ended at 4 o'clock and getting to New York, at 9 or 10 p.m. to play the next morning. Now, maybe he'll get a bye or he's the number one seed, but still,
right.
That's 100 times more important than a Challenger final.
Right.
And there's a lot of guys in this turn, like McDonald, who now has to go and play New York, but he has to play these things,
Right.
Have a choice.
Yeah.
And it will probably hurt him in New York playing a third set today, and he'll have to play first round match tomorrow.
That he didn't win, by the way.
Yeah.
Again, sorry. Spoiler alert if you're whatever.
But yeah, I think they've need to decide what they're trying to be. Are they trying to be like you said?
Everybody's trying to be what they're not. That's always the problem. Stay in your lane. There is no shame in being the tournament that has the ranking, of the players from 150 to 250 or 300. There's no shame in being that.
Right.
But be that.
Yeah.
And be the best at that. You can't be Wimbledon because you can't be.
Yeah, and I think they got spoiled last year. And who knows, maybe they're trying to parlay this into making an actual ATP event. Or, I mean, maybe that's the ultimate goal, but it's been 21 years. At this point, I would think if it hadn't happened, it's probably not going to.
Yeah. Interesting.
But yeah, you're not going to get the guys 51 to, because I think 50 is the cutoff. You're not going to get the guys 51 to 100 because a lot of the guys 51 to 100 were playing in, Montpellier and Cordoba.
Well, if we can't figure out how to save this tournament, how can we figure out how to save tennis? American tennis. I'll tell you how. Not my idea, but I'll tell you whose when we come back. So, after seeing a bunch of American players playing a 125 Challenger, do you think the future of American tennis was out there on those courts?
No, I can't say that it was.
Not a bad way.
Yeah.
You don't know. You never can tell.
McDonald is going to be a top 50 player, I think, for a while.
The Kruger's pretty good.
Yeah,
Huh?
that was his biggest win ever, so we'll see if he can. And he made Djokovic work in the Australian Open first round. He didn't get a set, but it wasn't easy.
Right.
Compared to what we see from those guys a lot of times.
Well, again, full disclosure, Mitchell Kruger's dad is an official who sometimes officiates my match, and he's a great dude. So
yeah, he's a local player.
Yeah, so
but he cracked the top 200, I think, with this win, which may be the first time
I think
ever.
he was pretty close to that already, yeah. So I'm sure he did. Well, I got good news. I think we figured out an answer on how to save American tennis. First of all, where do you think American tennis is right now? Let's clarify. Maybe it doesn't need help. Maybe we're just fine. I mean,
what do you mean, pro tennis?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to get to that based on what I'm about to tell you. But yeah, let's just talk about American tennis in general, both at the professional level and at the not professional level.
Yeah, I think you have to say pro women's tennis is on a slight decline. Because Serena and Venus are going out and you're not going to have two players replace them at that level. True. And then I would say for pro men's tennis, it's probably on a slight upswing because we got a lot of guys kind of in that 20, 30, 40 range that are still improving. Tiafoe, Fritz, and even McDonald and some of those guys.
Yeah.
And we still have a top 10 player with Isner and Tiafoe's, top 30, maybe 40.
Hey, sounds good.
So there's enough to be excited about. I'll be more optimistic than I normally am.
Yeah, I'm not. But see, I think replacing Serena can't be a measure in any way in regards to the health of the sport. It's impossible. They're unique, two of a kind, one of a kind situation, etc. And so not having them is not even factored into my thought process on where American tennis is. And I think on the women's side, we're fine.
Yeah,
matter of fact,
enough players.
I think there's an upswing. Even again, taking the Williams sisters out of it, which sounds odd, but they're unique in their place in the game. So I don't. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
And why do I even say I'm taking them out? Because Serena could play 5 more years.
Well, that
and be a factor,
right? But anyway, so for that reason, I think with the depth and not kind of factoring in the Williams sisters, I think we're doing wonderful.
Right.
Now, what about the game in and of itself? Just the health of tennis overall in our country.
Well, I used improperly earlier. I would say it's stagnant. I don't think it's...
Oh, so it's moving, because that's what you seem to think stagnant means.
I don't think it's... I haven't seen anything to make me think that it's going in an upswing as of late.
Are you familiar with a young lady named Pam Shriver?
Yes, I am.
Now,
always is very insightful on the broadcast.
So
is this going to be the founder of your idea?
Do what?
Is this going to be the one who founded your idea that's coming up?
Yeah. So okay. Pam Shriver and I have a special relationship going way back to the early 90s. Like maybe 1990. She played in a tournament in Virginia, which is where I'm from, and it was the Whitman Cup, and it was played at the College of William & Mary inside their indoor arena. And she comes out, she's playing, she's got the perm, the whole bit, the curls, and right before she's about to serve, I'm in probably 9th grade maybe, so this is in the 80s actually. So I'm in the 9th grade, and of course my buddy who was older than me, let's see, did he coerce me? Nah, it's a little strong, but whatever, he dared me to, make an ass of myself.
Right.
So I obliged. So as she was tossing the ball, I hollered out, "I love you, Pam."
Oh gosh.
And she caught the ball, obviously, and then
did you immediately know you were in trouble when that happened?
No. It's just like on TV. Nobody ever knows who says it.
Oh, she didn't call you out or anything.
No.
Okay.
We're in an arena, like
Right.
a basketball size arena, not like a pro basketball, but a college size arena. Probably holds 10,000
Right.
total, maybe less. I don't know, but yeah. So now. My guess is she remembers that and she thinks about it often. Probably not, however. And to be fair and not creepy, I don't either. But needless to say, that's where our relationship began. So I heard her on a podcast the other day, not ours. You don't listen to even ours. I listen to both ours and other podcasts because I'm a professional.
And I'm the one that has no life.
Yeah. So I drive a lot. Give me a break. So she was on a podcast with John Wertheim. That's him. Is that how you say it? Wertheim?
Wertheim, as far as I know.
All righty. And she had a brilliant idea. Now, I'm not a great actor, so I don't think I really conveyed my sarcasm in the word great. But they were yammering on about the idea of partnering. Just wait for this, okay? If you're not sitting down, sit down. Of partnering with the NBA. I know. So the face you're making, just so we don't film this radio broadcast for a lot of good reasons. Mostly because we do it in our underwear.
For the benefit of the fans.
Yeah, well, mostly we're doing it in our undies. Which is a lot of undie companies that sponsor podcasts. That'd be a great.
There you go.
We promise to do all podcasts in our underwear. It's so hot in the studio.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd probably help us. So anyway, so they decide So her idea was to partner with the NBA. Now
because they're just dying to get a partnership with.
Well,
tennis.
yes. So first of all, my first thought was, why would anybody want to immediately create a competitor and then help them compete?
Right.
So that was my first thought, but they seemed to not even, they kind of glossed right over that. They figured, hey, tennis has a lot to offer. Oh, really? What? They didn't really. So I think part of it was what they were saying was we have a wealthy demographic, which I think is probably true for the most part, right? On average.
And primarily white.
Well, some people might want a white-only audience, not me.
I'm saying I want that. I think tennis probably has
I see.
The widest audience, tennis and golf.
Right. So primarily the idea of the wealthy fan base, and then also that the women's side of our game is highly developed, whereas theirs is not. So bringing women, if there was a crossover of fandom, you would bring more women over to watching basketball. And I'm like, come on, man, what?
So she's talking about combining all four leagues.
I don't know. Listen, I know I'm a professional broadcast person here, but sometimes I just can't, so I have some help.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. At no point.
I'm not going to play it twice. I almost played it twice. So, I don't.
It was worth playing twice.
I'm not 100% sure exactly what that was all about. And furthermore, I think it is basically bailing and giving up on on really.
Why don't they just partner with the NFL? I mean, why not just pick the biggest one and partner with?
Yeah, why not?
Put tennis matches at halftime. That'll be perfect for the 4-game no ad sets. You just have one set no ad, and that's your. I mean, how perfect would that be? You have think about this. U.S. Open is during the NFL like Sunday, and you put one round every match during halftime of every game.
I just legitimately laughed really hard until I looked up and saw your dumb face. No, that wasn't what it was. Until actually a jolt of fury, not because of you or your face, a jolt of fury went through my head after I stopped laughing for a second. And the reason it went a jolt of fury went through my head is because I don't know why all these organizations, really the USTA mainly, are trying to bog down our game, take parts of our game away, make it less, and then wonder why nobody wants to play the damn thing.
Right.
It's ridiculous. You're joking about the Fast Four and all this other garbage. I mean, college is falling apart.
Yeah.
They play 6-game sets, no ad for doubles. That's it. 1 6-game set for a doubles match. Why play it?
Well, so when I was at the Challenger this week.
Hang on. And then they play 2 out of 3 sets, no ad for singles.
Right.
Why?
With the tiebreak.
With it? No. They play.
They play the full. Well, at least that.
I guess. Who cares? So then now you're talking about, partnering with another sport because we're not good enough. No, it's not that we're not good enough. It's the garbage organizations that think they're in charge of this sport. They're not good enough. That's who's not good enough. They have a giant banner that says grow the game. How about do your job?
Well, and pick every major sport. Have any of them in the last 50 years shortened their format in any way? You can say they shortened the time, but that's different. That baseball's still 9 innings. You still have 3 outs every inning. Football's still 15 minutes every quarter. Nothing's changed. Basketball's still 12 minutes every quarter. Hockey's still 20 miness every period. Nobody has changed their format.
I came in here in a good mood. I really did. And that literally, you joking about us doing halftime, that reality flashed in my head for a second that, you know what? They're going to turn us. I tried to stop using bad language on this podcast, and I've done a really good job.
You have. It's been impressive.
But I want to say bad words so much right now. I don't understand. First of all, the USTA has no power.
Right.
All they are is a bully. They run the largest event in the world one time a year. They make all their money from that.
Right.
And they spend the rest of the year pissing it down the drain. For no results.
Right.
And then when a player pops up and has a good run, our players are doing great. Shut your mouth. All you did was not get in the way of that kid.
Right.
As much as you did the other ones. Now, does the USTA have resources? Of course they do. They have gobs and gobs of money. So, of course, they can spread that around, and as they say, even a blind squirrel finds a nut. So they can actually accidentally run into some results from time to time. But as far as they have a system or they're trying to put together a system, that is a joke.
Well, and
I don't know why this turned so serious. I'm telling you, I'm pissed
Well, I was
off.
going to say the one thing that I think you and I both do it, whether we know it or not, on this podcast, we don't try to just shoot off an opinion that nobody else agrees with ever, just for the sake of being controversial. But the reason that came to mind is when we were sitting at the Challenger this whole week, every time there was a doubles match on and it went to deuce, they would announce, okay, deciding point, receiver's choice. I would hear at least 3 or 4 people every time in the crowd, what? They played no ad? Like, why do they do that? Oh, because it's just doubles. And so that immediately, why can't I can't find words today. It immediately makes your game less important. Like, it just makes it seem not as important. Oh, we're going to play no. Oh, it's just because it's doubles. Oh,
You're
third set
exactly
tiebreak.
right.
Oh,
Listen,
it's doubles.
Here's one thing we didn't do this year. You're exactly right. Here's one thing we didn't do.
Minimize, this is the word I was looking for.
Minimize. You're brilliant. You're absolutely. Matter of fact, not only are you brilliant in terms of your English degree and all that
that I'm not utilizing today.
Well, but that in particular.
Dynamite drop-in money. That broadcast school has really paid off.
I'm sorry. It calms me down. It's
I
like my
like
moment
it.
of zen for having these things. And, again, I'd like to hopefully I get full credit from the person that emailed or texted or DM'd or whatever that I left off Big Trouble in Little China for my Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell montage.
Yeah, because what got him going was...
You gonna do something or just stand there and bleed?
That's the USTA right now. I want to ask the USTA, you're spending all this money, and for what? For nothing, because you're standing there looking like an idiot, and all I want to say is...
You gonna do something or just stand there and bleed?
You're just going to stand there and bleed $250 million a year. That's all you're doing. You're paying, I don't know, ungodly amounts of money to these people to run nothing. You built a crown jewel of a tennis facility in Florida, and you have college matches down there from time to time. That's your highlight so far.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you, man. It's easy to take shots at a big, dumb organization, obviously, but... Oh, my politics they're going to be the death of me.
But yeah, I mean, I don't understand the whole, why would you merge with an organization that's, like you said, it makes it sound like you're trying to piggyback off them, which means that we need to piggyback off them.
Exactly. Here's the thing. In my opinion, we don't need the NBA or anybody else. First of all, they're not going to help us anyway. Second of all, it looks like a desperate move, and maybe it is. Maybe it's worse out there than I thought it was. Maybe these people that are traveling to tournaments every week, commentating and doing all the rest of it, have a little more insight than we do on the ground here. I don't know, but it just seems to me that I don't even know where to begin.
Well, it doesn't even make sense. I mean, what are you going to have, dual events? You're going to have split screen with the basketball game and tennis. I mean, it doesn't.
Now, to be fair, Pam, I call her Pam. She did. That sounded creepy. She did sort of say, I don't know how this would work. I don't know what it would look like. I don't have an MBA, as in a business degree, not NBA, as in basketball. So I don't know how to write up the business model that would make this thing work or whatever. So she basically, what she saw was Daniel Stern, the commissioner of the NBA, apparently his brother is a teaching pro in Boca Raton. And so there's the connection.
Yeah.
And I guess Daniel Stern's also a tennis fan. And I'm like, so what?
Right.
And listen, far be it for me to say anything bad about the NBA because they're crushing it.
Right.
They've been growing like crazy. And, who knows? Will they ever catch football? Probably not.
No.
But at the same time, the amount of growth they've had, I don't know how you quantify it or whatever, but it's been pretty remarkable and good for them.
Well, and if she would have said, we want to follow the model of the NBA,
but they can't.
That I would have understood.
Well, they talked about that a little to some degree, but they can't.
Well, I know. That's the problem.
Well,
but what I like about the NBA, though, is they have a couple nights a week that you're getting a feature game, no matter what, at this time on this channel. Tennis, it's just, they make it way too hard. Like even today, we had 4 different events, and you didn't know what event was on at what time, and what you couldn't even watch maybe what you wanted to watch. NBA, we know, okay, for Wednesday and Friday, there's going to be an NBA game at 7 o'clock on TNT, and it's going to be 2 really good teams.
So here's the deal: if you've got to get on TV, right? I think that's pretty reasonable assumption.
And no offense to Tennis Channel, but it's probably got to be something bigger than that.
ESPN.
For notoriety.
It's got to be either ESPN or whatever. So there's TV has to make money off of programming by selling ads. And the reason they can make money selling ads, this is nothing new for anybody, is because people watch what is on.
Right.
So there's eyeballs on the TV. Or you give them a deal that's so good that they're going to make money no matter what.
Right.
I guarantee you the USTA isn't doing that for all the U.S. tournaments.
Right.
I guarantee you the ATP doesn't care about, I don't know who purely, if Cincinnati has all the rights to their broadcast,
right,
or if the USTA has some of it because now they're part of the USTA, the U.S. Open Series. I don't know how any of that works. I don't know how Indian Wells. I don't know how any of that works.
Yeah.
You know who might? friend of the program, Blair Henley.
Yeah, well, I was wondering if like that.
I saw her, by the way. She was on the broadcast for the old Davis Cup there.
Okay,
Fed Cup, whatever.
Well, I was wondering if that Dallas tournament, like the tournament itself, made any money off that being on the Tennis Channel, or did that just go to the USTA with their contract? Or
I would think they did, which is probably why they were able to pay Isner and Kyrgios a little bit of change.
I would think that they had to benefit them in some way.
Yeah, I would hope so. So in any event, so you hear him talk about these things, but then it's like, wait a second, how can you sit here and say all these things about how tennis should run when you're not in charge of tennis? That's the problem. That's what they want to be. They want to be one of these federations in one of these small countries where it's almost impossible for a player to make it out without having a relationship with the federation,
right?
A la Halep, who she did make it out apparently without any help, but now that they got a strained relationship, although she played Fed Cup for him, obviously.
Yeah.
But that sense of they have any control over the game, that's the number one problem. Now, I also heard Martin Blackman on the same podcast, but not the same week, on a different one. Talking to John Wertheim about Australia was still going on, and Wertheim was asking him various things about various things, and one of the things he brought up was the state of American tennis, and he used the anecdotal evidence of how many players were still in the Australian Open.
Which this happened to be one of their best tournaments in a long time.
But also nobody. I mean, I don't want to say nobody because I don't know, but I would imagine certainly not every player had any connection or any help whatsoever from the USTA.
Right.
And so now, where does that put them in relation to each other? What? So that's got nothing to do with the USTA then.
Yeah.
Although, for numbers-wise, I guess they think, well, we got a lot of American players. American tennis is doing great. I guess we'll get credit for that. And they may not even try to take credit. I don't know how that goes down, but what I'm saying is they don't deserve credit, but they'll probably get credit.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. When I think measuring, how many are in a particular tournament, that's always funny to me how the broadcasts focus on that so much. And I get people want to watch American players, but it just changes so much from one week to the next. I don't know why that's such a big focal point. To me, it's about where they're ranked as opposed to how they do in one particular tournament.
Which is connected, obviously,
yeah.
But I agree with you that, it's sort of like, one small anecdotal, piece of evidence, but you have to hang on to that because in a week it's going to be the opposite. So now
right.
What do you do? Yeah, I agree with you. But yeah, and again, they seemingly on paper, the USTA does a good job of tiptoeing because they, Blackman said multiple times, that, and Wertheim asked him, what is your role in all of this? And he said, well, just, as little as much as they want from us.
Right.
So in other words, if you're coaching a player out at your place, and by some miracle they learn how to play tennis, just kidding. He's a fine coach. And they start moving up the rankings, like junior rankings, like world, ITF and all that, to where maybe somebody, kind of gets an eyeball on him and says, wow, that kid is going to be good. Then the way basically it should work is nobody should come bother you about that kid until you're not good enough to coach them, or they, until that relationship sours and then they find another coach, which knowing you, that's pretty quick. But, but now the USTA, it's unavoidable. It's almost unavoidable that they're going to be in the mix somewhere along the line. They have $250 million or more to spend every year. I use that $250 million because that's what they make on the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
But they have more than that, I'm sure. They have that much money to spend every year on tennis, which is the 27th most popular sport in America. So, they could spend $100,000 probably on every player between the age of 14 and 18 and just give them $100,000 and it wouldn't even hurt them.
Right.
And so it just inevitably they're going to be involved or in the mix because they're so, ubiquitous. Yeah, baby.
Well, and at the very least, they're going to say, they grew up playing all our events. So they're going to use that as a advertising point or marketing point.
Which, on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, well, that's stupid and they shouldn't. But ultimately, I don't care. Don't do that. But if they did, that's the least of my worries because ultimately, if the kid gets there, the kid gets there. If they're developing and whatever, fine, who cares? The real issue to me is how much they get in the way of this process because they're everywhere. They're everywhere. You ever see that movie, They Live?
I have seen that movie.
Yes.
Roddy Piper.
I need to get some, what I did? I searched YouTube high and low for drops from They Live, Roddy Piper. The aliens, the lizard people, or whatever it was, controlling the world. Anyway, they're everywhere, and so I just don't understand. I don't see how you can get away from them.
Well, and I think it's like you said earlier, at the very beginning of this, which was stay in your lane. Is that they can't? They have to know they can't do everything perfectly. So just pick what you want to do. Do you want to be the pro avenue, the pro development? Do you want to be in tournaments? Do you want to be in leagues? You can't just be tennis and we're going to encompass every aspect of tennis and be better than everybody else at it, and that's it.
I don't know what they know. I don't know what they think. They have an entire development team, like high-performance development team.
Right.
That is dedicated to what? Support? You pay that many people, that much money to support random coaches all over the country? Come on, son.
They're trying to be the Amazon of tennis and just take over every aspect.
You mean they're trying to have an affair and then blackmailed and then what? That seems inappropriate.
But yeah, it's
current events.
There you go.
Listen, we're cutting edge.
It's a good thing we're running this live this time.
Cutting edge, baby.
Yeah, we could go on. We could literally do our podcast just about USTA, and every week we would have the content. It's just so much. They give us a lot of ammunition.
Yeah, and it's depressing. It really is. It wears me out because, it. Like I've always, this has been my contention forever. If they want to really benefit American tennis, they need to give away money with no strings attached, and and get rid of all your national coaches. Get rid of all your, all of that stuff. Get rid of it, and just hand out money to, community tennis associations, to, whatever. I don't even know.
You're right. That's the only way you're going to get more players on tour because that's the main thing that's hindering people from getting on tour.
Well, if you think you're going to just hunt and peck one individual at a time and really. ID that talent like that, you're dreaming. You're dreaming. Now, are there coaches out there that coach at an elite level and know what it takes to take a player from zero to that? Sure, of course, because we've done it before. Lots of times, all throughout the history before the USTA even mattered. And, so yeah, that process has been done before. But obviously the USTA doesn't have it down to a science. That's clear.
Right.
So what now? Well, I'll tell you what now. Give away all your resources as much as you can and get out of the way. This is America. It's not that we'll figure it out. No, we already know how to do it. We've done it. Obviously, we've had players, some of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever, of all time, that are American. And so clearly somebody somewhere knows what they're doing in this country, at least a couple.
Well, and I'll give you a prime example. This may be too small in scope, but let's say you've got a player that's top 100 in the nation somehow. They've got their ranking up top 100 in the nation, and they've qualified for some big tournament that's in, California, and they're from Dallas. Well, not only do they have to pay for their travel to go to that tournament and their hotel to go to that tournament, they've also got to pay an entry fee, which is usually $80, $100 to get in that tournament. Why are we making it? There shouldn't be any entry fee. Once you've qualified for that level, you should be in it already. Like that, you've already proven you're one of the players that's the best by being ranked high enough to get into it. Why are you having to pay on top of all the money you've always spent on lessons, traveling, lodging, whatever else?
So what you're saying is every game that LeBron plays, he doesn't have to pay an entry fee into the game?
Right.
Partner with that!
Yeah. So it's like, not only did you have to do all this to get here, then we're going to make it even more difficult to get here. It's like, I think even the pro, like on the USPTA pro circuit, I think even they have to pay some entry fee. I mean, you would know that probably better than I do. But isn't there a player entry fee to get into those tournaments?
I don't have any idea.
I think there is.
It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense if there is.
And so it's like the only barrier to success in tennis, or the main barrier, is money. And like you said, USTA has all of it. So they're not giving it to the right people if the right people aren't coming on tour and having success.
Well, they do have a grant program. So the USTA has a grant program, and seemingly it is merit based. So if you're a junior and you meet certain ranking criteria, then you'll qualify for those grants.
Right.
So with that being said, if there are strings to those grants, then what's the point?
Right.
It should be, here's what we have to offer American tennis. Cash money.
Yeah.
That's it. Cool. Then do that. Get out of the way of everybody else and just hand over the cash to deserving players. And how do you determine who's deserving without there being any impropriety for quote unquote your players? You just give it away with no strings attached.
Right.
That's how.
Well, and what I was getting at is that is the goal to make money off of tournaments, or is the goal to develop an ex-pro player? And I think they're trying to accomplish both, and it doesn't work that way. Like, I understand you got to make money to run a tournament, and the club's got to make money and all that, but the USTA, I can't imagine how much money they make off tournaments every year, whereas those high-level tournaments are supposed to be about developing players and sending them to the next level.
Yeah, I don't know how much that really goes. I don't know how much that matters. I don't know. That's a interesting point that we probably should ask maybe Mitchell Kruger's dad. He might know.
Well, I've got a friend that, what made me think about this, I've got a friend, I won't say who it is obviously, but he's spending $3,000 a month on tennis for his daughter, who's a state-ranked junior player. And that's, now what of that's going to his club and his coaches and the traveling and all. I don't even think that, I think that's just to her coaching.
Oof.
So that's not factoring in the traveling to tournaments, the entry fees, the hotels. So it's just...
Yeah, we're a high-end sport, man. I don't care
Right.
what anybody says. It is tough financially to be able to play this sport.
So I think that's that's going to eliminate a lot of the potential best players before we even find out they're the potential best players.
Well, and I think I don't know. Once again, according to Blackman, he talked about that issue with the ATP and WTA slicing off the bottom half of the tours and turning them into ITF. I don't think the USTA had any choice.
Yeah.
I don't think they had any say in it. Now, maybe if they had a more savvy leadership group, they could have preempted it. Maybe. But I don't know that I don't know that trying would have been a good idea, number one, or if trying would have been fruitful anyway. So in that regard, it doesn't matter. I mean, the pro level is going to do what the pro level does regardless. But, so... Yeah, I just get so frustrated.
I think the reason we get frustrated is there's so many things that need to be improved and have needed to be improved for quite some time, right. I might add. And I love it how the solution is to merge with the NBA, which there's no... I mean, yeah, if the NBA said tomorrow we're going to make a partnership with tennis and we're going to run collaborative events and all that, tennis at daytime and basketball games at night... I mean, maybe that would be great.
Well, one thing that I think one sort of aspect that Wertheim was talking about is that the WNBA season is outside of the NBA season, and it's right during the U.S. Open season. So you would have WNBA and American tennis, the American tennis swing, at the same time. And I'm like, I don't know if the American tennis swing is doing too bad.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to gain...
Because what are you trying to fix?
By merging with the WNBA.
What are you trying to fix? Attendance at a handful of tournaments?
Right.
That really isn't the bulk of tennis that up-and-coming Americans play?
Yeah.
Well, like I always said, just give us the keys. Give us the keys.
I think we've something we agree on that merging with the NBA isn't the solution.
I think that might be right. Well, if you have a solution, by all means, let us know. And while you're at it, would you please retweet? If you follow us on Twitter, for the love of all things holy, why don't you retweet everything I send out? I send out about 7 trillion like episode links. Like this, our new episode's up.
Right. And tweet your favorite Kurt Russell movie.
Yeah, please
when
don't.
you retweet it.
No, because it doesn't matter.
I want to hear the other classics.
It's only about my favorite. Well, first of all, the most disgusting thing you've ever said on this podcast was the only one I saw was Escape from L.A. Arguably the worst.
I don't think that's true. I think
not just the worst Kurt Russell. That's the worst movie of all time.
I think I have seen the original one, but I saw
Call
the
Me
newer one
Snake.
first.
I got to get Call Me Snake. I got to get that. Escape from New York. What a classic. Anyway, so listen. If you follow me on Twitter, why don't you tweet out? Just check. Just go daily to my little thing. I don't know how Twitter works. Corey doesn't even have a Twitter because he's embarrassed how bad he doesn't want to get tweets. So
No.
from me. So anyway, go to my little thing to where it shows you all the tweets I've sent out, and then retweet them. I mean, presumably, if you are a tennis fan, well, it's presuming you have friends, I guess. You have friends that play tennis. And if you have friends that play tennis, then why are they listening to the podcast? That's my question. So retweet, send it all out to them, look up my tweets and however that happens, and go do that, would you? Also, feel free to follow us on Instagram for no particular reason. The only thing I do on Instagram, by the way, is DM famous people. Now, wait, let me tell you why. So I haven't announced this, but it completely fell apart. And I didn't want to announce it ahead of time and jinx it, but what's the difference now? It fell apart. So, as you know, I am the unofficial tennis coach of
The Stars.
What's one thing below star?
Stagnant. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's not the correct usage of that word.
One less than Stars. I don't know.
Whatever. They're not quite, hugely famous. So anyway,
The B-list.
Well, that's a little high.
Right.
So I've taught a few, comedians, stand-up comedians, some tennis. And through those relationships, one in particular, I was going to teach another person who came to town tennis. Somebody you may have heard of, you may not have. I don't know. It's hard for me to judge their level of fame when they haven't been on the podcast. But one, Nikki Glazer. Are you familiar with her work?
I am. Yeah, I've seen her on a few roasts and other shows.
She's definitely been on a bunch of roasts, and she's also had more than one TV show. And so that's a pretty big deal. Apparently, you get paid a lot to do that. And so she was coming to town, and she's busy. I mean, she's literally flying back and forth across the country regularly. I mean, that's her life. I guess she has a house in New York and a house in L.A., apparently, it seems like. And so she's quite busy. So
she should merge with the tennis tour. They could just travel together and have comedy shows and the changeovers.
That'd be great. So anyway, so I DM'd her. Now, this is how much of an idiot I am. I don't even really know. First of all, it took me, I don't know how long to find the button to DM somebody. And apparently that means direct message.
Yes, that I did know.
And so I thought I had to follow her on her Instagram. So I followed her to be able to DM her. And apparently you don't. But lo and behold, out of her 250,000 followers on Instagram, which is insanity, she answered my DM. Mainly, number one, probably because I'm me. But also I was dropping names, some other comedians that obviously she'd be very familiar with. And through that, we talked via DM or whatever. And this was about like 2 weeks out from the time she was going to be here. And so it was a little preemptive in terms of trying to schedule it. So we just sort of tentatively talked about it. And I said, okay, I'll reach back out when it gets closer because she's busy.
Right.
And so so it got closer. And we were all set. She agreed to it, and then she ended up having to bail. It was going to be her, and I think she brings somebody with her to, be part of her show. I think that's a pretty common situation where you bring you have a three or four comedian show. You have a host, you have an opener, you have a middler, and then you have a whatever. And so one of those people she brings with her. I think the person that's right before her does, maybe 20 minutes or 50. I don't know what the hell they do. I can't pay. And then she comes on and does her, hour or so of whatever. So she's going to bring that person, and we're going to have a good old time at an exclusive indoor facility because it's, freezing cold out here. So I ended up following through. So I didn't want to jinx it. Or tell you something that wasn't going to happen, so that's why I didn't mention it ahead of time. But hey, it didn't end up happening anyway. I was stilted at the altar, as it were. And so there you go. So I just told you about nothing that happened. That was riveting radio, I'm sure.
I mean, you could have just made that be any celebrity, and we would have never known. It isn't happening.
Hulk Hogan coming out.
Don't tease me on that because I would be all over that.
Please tell me no.
That's like top 3 on the list. If I could meet anybody, he'd be top 3.
Oh my God, that's so pitiful. So he's like your one freebie that your wife gave you permission.
I think with guys, she said anybody's okay. No women allowed.
So anywho, that was the big doings on here in DF Dubs that did not do, I guess. I wasn't bitter or anything, but I didn't go see her show and then stop following her immediately on Instagram.
Right.
So that's what's been now. So if you saw weird stuff on the Instagram, that's why. And I don't know what it does when. I don't know if you see people I follow. I don't know. I don't know anything.
Your conversation with her is public.
It could be. I don't care. I didn't profess my love to her or anything, so who cares? But anywho, so next time she's out, hopefully I'll try to get her on, see what happens. So Instagram. Oh yeah, as you probably have forgotten, of course, we are on YouTube now. So whatever that means. Not
just audio.
Just audio, not video, of course.
Don't get too excited.
No. Put your shirt back on. So we're on YouTube. I'm slowly but surely kind of figuring that out. It's still a disaster. It's a whole... Every time I put a new episode up, it's like I'm learning it for the first time again. But we get it up there somehow. And so there was a listener that suggested that idea, so I'm glad they did because... Well, not really. I'm really not, to be honest with you, because it's a giant
That's
hassle.
what you wanted, was another method to have to deal with.
Exactly. It's a giant hassle. But ultimately, way more people are on YouTube than listen to podcasts. So I guess long term, hopefully it'll be something that pays off for our millions of fans.
Right.
What else? Anything else?
I think that's it.
Man, let me tell you, it's tough talking about tennis when it's 2 degrees outside, but it's getting warmer starting tomorrow. Monday, it's back.
That's right.
The weather's back. We're back in the 60s, 70s, some high 50s, which high 50s are winter for us.
Right.
So definitely follow us on Instagram for no particular reason. I'll send out nothing to you, I promise. Follow us on Twitter. That's where you'll get the same exact tweet from me 19 times this week telling you the new episode's up. Just share that. I'm not going to stop sending it, but share it. Send it out to your friends. Spread the word. We do continue to grow, but I'm greedy and impatient, and so I want to grow faster. And hey, I guess that's really it. So until next time, thanks for joining the revolution.
Bye, guys.
Comedy fan.